The Road to War. Written and narrated by John Miro. Get more at servingworlds.com. "38. Captain Joyner made a face. "If Reacher skin is your thing, go for it. Just make sure you spike her sandbox and ram when you're done." "Aye, Captain," they said together, eagerly, moving closer. Samine shook her head. "Unbelievable." "I mean, I knew Earthers were stupid." All three men bristled. "But you guys take the cake." Both summoned slabs of muscle snarled and stepped forward quickly. Samine kept her cool and held off drawing the pistol hidden in the small of her back. Just as she figured, Captain Joyner held up a hand, and the men backed off. "We took down the net ship-wide." Joyner scowled at her, maybe 1% of her brain finally realizing Samine really should be more worried than she was. "My ship is empty. All of Shadrach's personnel are out cleaning up after those poor dead Reachers on Cloak." Cloak? Cloak was still flying. She'd checked on all the Reacher ships before her meeting with Captain Joyner. Samine filed that away for later scrutiny. Joyner was warming up now, talking himself out of his suspicions. "And when my men are done unloading in your pants, they're gonna make sure nobody ever unloads so much as a spark from the shit in her skull again." Halfway through the sentence, he'd obviously redirected to his cronies. The two new assholes actually giggled as they nodded. But Samine was watching the captain. That 1% suspicion just wouldn't leave Joyner's head. "So what are we missing, you piece of Reacher trash?" "How about this? My friend unloaded a replicating worm to your ship's computer along with my search warrant." She wiggled her eyebrows. "Go ahead. Check the search warrant's metadata for files tagged Shadrach Sloppy." All three men froze. The muscle looked to their captain, turned instantly into scared, whining children, the both of them. "Hope you can spike every byte of memory storage in every door, coffee maker, or flushing toilet sensor on this ship. And you better do it before the nets come back, otherwise you're fucked, boys." Joyner's face was shaking. "No, you're fucked." He started unbuckling his pants. "Once I'm done with you, I'll take your advice. Got some missiles can unload an EMP and do the trick, so hold her down, boys." Samine rolled her eyes as she drew her weapon and fired 3 shots, right to left. Kneecaps for the little boys, but a bullet in the dick for the captain. She leaned over the desk and smiled at the writhing men on the floor. "Need a doctor, Joyner? Oh, I forgot. The net's down." She sat back down in the captain's chair, ignoring the wails of agony from the other side of the desk. "Just have to wait, I guess," she said, kicking her feet back up on the desk. Samine settled in, content to wait for the network to come back up or for more crew to investigate the ruckus going on in the captain's cabin. She kept her gun in her hand at her side. And she thought about Joyner's wisecrack, something about the Peter cloak, and made a mental note to look into it. How many ships and how many lives had the churn taken while she had been taking out the trash while their guard was down? She'd know soon enough. In the meantime, her new friends kept her company with their screams. Nobody else heard, or maybe nobody else cared. 20 minutes later, Samine's implant reconnected and immediately triggered her cochlear nerve. A woman's voice yelled inside her head, "Samine, are you there?" Finally. Samine stood and stepped over the gasping, bleeding war profiteers. 5 by 5, she said, rubbing imaginary dirt from her hands. "Just standing guard until my implant could upload my little chat with Captain Joyner." She stopped at the door and smiled down. "See you guys. I'll send the MPs down on my way out." Samine pushed off the door and started down the hall. "Did your worm do its thing? Turn up buried treasure? An undoctored ship's manifest? The captain's porn stash? Samine, get your—" The audio glitched out, squealed digital interference, and then came back. "To return, right now! Dock at the hole in the The voice in her head was afraid. Samine broke into a jog, checking the new flight plan her tech wizard teammate had sent to her sandbox. Hole in the wall was their shorthand for an out-of-the-way meeting place at the top of Access Tude M14, an out-of-the-way corner of the flagship, perfect for off-the-record conversations and complete with a ship-sized airlock. Hole in the wall, ASAP. Roger. Listen, I got something from Joyner. He said a lot of Reachers died on Cloak. You know anything about that, Frankie? Willard! The voice broke apart. Samin's implant struggled to fit the words together again. With Paladin. Can you hear me, Ghost? Lee's still alive. The old Civil War code words were like a bucket of ice down the back of Samin's neck, sobering her up instantly. What the hell? Li Zhang? Alive? Frankie's voice cut out completely as the network died for the second time in half an hour. Only this time it wasn't just Shadrach affected. Not as deep inside Shadrach now, her implant reached out and pinged one of the many satellites spread through the fleet. It was online, but someone was jamming the network, and the blackout zone was growing. Soon, the whole fleet would be alone in the dark. Bad things were happening again. Samin ran as fast as her unpowered plastic and metal left leg could take her. You have been listening to Reach, The Road to War. Written and narrated by John Miro. Music, All This by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com. Hear more of the story at servingworlds.com. Thank you for listening.